Hello everyone, this is Steve Barrett. I'm the editorial director of PRWeek, and I'm delighted to welcome to this interview Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian of all time, who is the 2020 PRWeek Communicator of the Year and is joining us for a chat. Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, we were supposed to be meeting in March at a physical event in New York City when we were originally going to have our awards, and now we're doing it virtually. It's been a crazy few months, hasn't it? Talk us through how you've been spending that time and what it's been like for you living in lockdown like the rest of the population of the whole world.
Rocky roads, roller coasters, crazy bits of emotions, a lot of unknown. I think that's an easy way of saying it. For me, I think the most challenging thing is just getting kind of out of a routine. For me, I'm such a regimented person, and one slight slip up can cause me into a tailspin. So for me, that's been one thing that I've really tried to do is maintaining some kind of schedule. So working out, because I know mentally that's what I need to be the best me. And honestly, just trying to take care of what needs to be taken care of around the house, playing with the boys, hanging out with them, making sure my family needs what they need. I think one thing I will say that has been super positive about the quarantine, I think it's really been a cool part for Nicole and I, because I feel like we've grown more than we ever have. I feel like our communication is even bigger and better than it ever was. We've kind of had to be put into certain situations, I guess, because of the situation we're going through. We've had to learn and adapt, and I think it's really strengthened our relationship.
Yeah, I guess for a lot of people, it's the same, that that people who travel a lot, have busy schedules, are spending more concerted time with their family and their kids than ever before. And that, I guess, if there is a positive to come out of this, and obviously that's not the case in every circumstance, but I think in general, that has been one of the positives to come out of this, hasn't it?
Oh no, for sure. That's who I am. I'm typically on the road 2 to 3 weeks out of every single month. Me kind of being locked down literally has been it's brought up so many different challenges. But I think one of the fun things for me as a dad, as a newer dad, has really just seen every single one of my kids grow up so fast. That's the one thing that is so shocking to me, and still blows my mind, how fast time goes, and it's pretty much the snap of a finger, and they're off to college. So for me, being able to see some of those little small moments of their interactions or them growing up, for me, it's been a dream come true.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, my nephew's just gone. He just did his virtual graduation, and he is going to head off to college. So yeah, enjoy those years. Listen, Michael, we are honoring you for all the fantastic work you've been doing in raising awareness around the stigma around depression and mental health. And we named you number one on our health influencer list last year, and we've made you Communicator of the Year this year. Just explain why it's so important to raise awareness of this, because despite the lockdown, and I think everyone having more of an awareness of their mental well-being, there's still a lot of misunderstandings about it, aren't there? And we need to do a lot of work and just make people aware of the fact that they can seek help when they need it.
For me, I spent 20 years in the Olympic space, and being on 5 Olympic teams, I've seen a lot. And I think it really took me until 2016 to realize that there are so many others that are struggling just like I was, and just like I am. So for me, that was part of the reason why I really wanted to do this documentary that came out last night. Being able to get a group of us together to talk about our journeys. When you really break it down, they're different, but they're almost identical. There are so many athletes that are going through the same exact thing that I went through, and potentially they're afraid because they don't know how people are going to look at them. And, that stigma around it is hard. As a competitor, you don't want to show a sign of weakness. And when for me, I think when I thought about sharing it, I almost looked at it as I was giving my competitors an edge, and I held everything in because of that. But after seeing in 2016 and seeing the work that I did with myself, and learning more and more about why I go through the things that I go through, I wanted to find a way to help as many people as possible. And this, for me, saving a life is exponentially better than ever winning an Olympic gold medal. So this has been, a tremendous journey for me. It's been a challenging journey. But, being able to see this barrier break down little by little, and more people standing up and sharing their experiences. I think that's the only way that we can learn as a whole, and learn as an individual. So, I remember back in 2014 when I didn't want to go to see a therapist because I felt weird, or I didn't want to go sit on that couch, this, that, or the other. And to be honest, it changed my life. It's single-handedly the reason why I'm probably still alive. And for me, that's just something that I know is what I need in order to be the best me. And I also learned that it's okay to not be okay. So for me, being able to work with Talkspace as well, being able to have it easy, accessible, is just picking up my cell phone. How much are we on our cell phones daily, right? So it's just everything's a dream come true.
Yeah, the documentary is called Weight of Gold.
Sorry, I can ramble.
That's okay. It debuted on HBO Sports last night, as Michael said. And Talkspace is an online therapy platform that Michael's involved with, which is really emphasizing the fact that you need to reach out and you need to ask for help, and it's okay to do so. And it seems, you're right, Michael, it's such an environment, top-level sport. You've got to be super competitive to be the best. You're in a bubble, and it really does feel like it's even harder for people in that environment to reach out for help. I remember in the coverage of us making you our Communicator of the Year, I saw you quoted as saying that you only really started to communicate when you reached 30, the age of 30. Talk a little bit about that, as we're talking to an industry of communicators. Talk about how that experience was.
So from what I just said, being somebody who had to hold things in because I didn't want to show a sign of weakness, and I felt like I couldn't show vulnerability. I guess in 2014, I had a breaking point where I didn't want to be alive, and that's when I really I sought help, and I felt like I got to the bottom of really kind of how I work and why I work that way. And for me, I feel like I could have won another gold medal at compartmentalizing. And I know that's not something to be proud of, but it's something that I was really good at during my career.
Did you have to
Looking back
do
in
that
2016, I think so. I believe I did. And for me, I used it really just for motivation, I guess, more than anything else. Like I would use the pain that I felt inside of me to push my body to different limits. So, I think just, having all of those experiences for me, I guess I started making that joke that I learned to communicate at the age of 30, because that was, my last experience was probably my most enjoyable Olympics, because of my family being there, because of the journey that I had gone through to climb back to the top of the mountain. I think it's not something that is super good to say, but I'm happy I learned to understand and be okay with my own emotions. I think that was something that was so important, and something that was extremely challenging for me to go through, just because of sort of my childhood and the experiences that I had, really with not having a father.
What would your message? We continue to see lots of young people committing suicide, and a lot of them are in the entertainment and the music and sports industries. What would your message be to them? Because some of them didn't make it, right? Some of them didn't make it to 30, and they're in similar high-profile professions like yourself.
I mean, I think, that was one of the scariest times or scariest thoughts for me coming into this pandemic was the rise of suicide and the rise of mental health. I think we're because we're forced into this and we have so many. I guess we have to deal with our emotions differently than we ever did in the past. It's just it's scary, and we don't know how to react, and sometimes we be reactive, and that can be scary. And I as I said, I mean, I want to try and lower that number of suicide rate. It's climbing way too fast. And honestly, the biggest thing that I can see that changed me was communicating. It's that simple. Like, it's the 8 basic emotions. Where are they coming from? Why do you have them? I try to keep everything as simple as I possibly can. Because if I don't, then I feel like I get distracted. And I can go, and I'm a scatterbrain already. So, for me, keeping it simple is something that worked. So I would say communicate. And honestly, the one thing that scared me the most about communicating, I think, was somebody saying no. Because for me, I felt like that would be rejection. But, once I realized that I had to be okay with myself and like who I was as a person, then I realized it wasn't an attack on me. It just meant they couldn't help right now. So it's, I think that was the biggest thing that I had to learn too, was looking at myself in the mirror and loving who I saw.
Do you think COVID-19 has increased isolation and feelings like that in many cases, but in another way, it's also increased awareness of mental health issues, because I think everyone is feeling some sense of, not really knowing what's going on. When's this going to end? And it's totally unprecedented. So in a weird way, do you think it's actually helped raise awareness of issues around mental health as well?
Oh, I mean, I think raised more than just mental health issues. I think, it's just forced us into a zone where, as we say, there is so much unknown. So we almost have to just take one step at a time and keep it simple. Control the things that we can control.
In another universe, the Olympics would have been taking place around now in Japan. That would have been the first time in 20 years that you wouldn't have been competing. I don't know if you were planning to attend or if you were doing commentary or whatever, but how were you feeling about that, and how are you feeling about that, having the first Olympics in the 21st century where you're not going to be part of it as a competitor?
So I'm going to answer two ways, because this is really kind of mind-blowing for me. 40 years ago, the Olympics, we boycotted. 40 years before that, the Olympics were canceled and they were in Tokyo. 40 years before that was the second Olympics. Something is just super off, super weird. It doesn't all add up to me. I'll say, going back to regimented, I think, my body knows what time it is, and it feels kind of off not having the Olympics. I was planning on going, planning on attending, potentially working. And to not have a games is, and the first time for me, it just, I don't know, it just feels like it's a bad dream.
The athletes spend 4 years, don't they, training with that in mind, that single goal, and all of a sudden it's been taken away from them. That must be so demoralizing, and on top of everything else that's going on.
Like I can talk from a swimmer standpoint, where we're dealing with hundredths of a second. So when we spend 4 years getting ready for that, we're very calculated and very precise of what has to be where at every single moment. So when that's thrown off, it's you feel lost. I guess that's the easiest way of saying it, and you don't know what to do. So when I heard it was going to be canceled or postponed, mental health again was one of my first concerns, because it was an unknown for the athletes, and when we have something that we're preparing for, and you just get thrown a curveball, you almost think it was a waste of time. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what athletes are going to do, what they can control during this time to prepare themselves for next year. Because whoever is doing that, I think, has the best chance to perform how they want.
Yeah, and of course it won't just be next year, it'll be the next Olympics after that, because there'll only be a 3-year gap between it, so you won't have your normal 4-year gap. So it's disrupted the whole thing, hasn't it, in an unprecedented way. Not being cancelled, but being delayed by a year. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens. Just to finish up, Michael, there's a room. Normally there would be a room full of business people, people at PR agencies, people at brands who look after communications. They're all watching virtually. We're looking for leadership in this world, I think. What's your message to business and the role that they can play in helping raise awareness of the stigma around mental health and other issues like that?
I would say encourage people to reach out to trained professionals to seek the help they need, and really understand it's okay to not be okay. I mean, I remember as a kid growing up as an 8-year-old saying I wanted to do something that no one else has ever done before. And I went through my first chapter of my life, and I've done that. And I did it with a couple bumps in the road and a couple challenges. But it didn't hurt me. I think for me, it really just gave me more of an awareness of what I need and what I need to be me. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing I would just do is encourage people again to communicate, ask for help. I mean, we always say ask questions. There are no stupid questions, right? So ask as many questions as you can. I think that's the only way that we can learn and grow. And for us to be the best human being that we can be, we have to constantly be learning and be willing to learn.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be understanding. It's not like physical health where something might mend. Mental health is an ongoing issue, and you go through troughs, valleys, and it's such a difficult thing to deal with, isn't it, on an ongoing basis?
I think, like, to your point, I think mental and physical health should be looked at as the same. Like we need to take care of them the same exact way. We can't push one to the side just for one day or 2 days or a week or a month, because it's just not healthy and it's not safe. So that's one thing that I have tried to do almost every single day. And look, I know it's hard. I mean, it's challenging, but as long as you're giving an honest effort, you will see change, you will see growth, and it feels amazing. I mean, look, I dreamt of being in these shoes today, and I have bigger dreams, I have bigger goals, and the people that are standing next to me every single day and helping me be the best me, they're going to help me make it happen.
Well, Michael, we're all with you. You're a great role model to everyone in the country, in the world, and not now known not just for your sporting achievements, but for this fantastic work that you're doing. We're so happy to be able to honour you with this, and really looking forward to seeing what you do with it moving forward. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen. We have a long journey ahead, but a fun journey ahead, and I'm looking forward to show you guys what we have in store.
Sounds good. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.